Session of the Portland City Council. Rebecca, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Maps. Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. We'll now hear from legal counsel on the rules of order.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. Individuals must testify for 3 minutes unless the presiding officer states otherwise. Your microphone will be muted when your time is over. The presiding officer preserves order. Disruptive conduct such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If you cause a disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony should address the matter being considered. When testifying, 1, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. 2, if you are a lobbyist, identify the organization you represent. 3, virtual testifiers should unmute themselves when the council clerk calls your name. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 738, a resolution.
Direct the city to work with Portland State University and the Halprin Landscape Conservancy to explore the potential of a joint project to replace or renovate the Keller Auditorium.
Colleagues, this afternoon's item provides next steps on the Keller Auditorium project. As we all know, the Keller Auditorium is vital to Portland for the major events it holds and the economic activity and the jobs that it supports. However, the building is seismically unsound and it's in need of a major renovation or replacement in the coming years. On May 29th, we heard 3 outstanding presentations about 3 different potential approaches to this problem: a renovation and expansion of the existing building, or new performing arts centers at either Portland State University or at the Lloyd Center. Today, Council is considering a resolution that calls for collaboration between the 2 proposals located in the downtown area. I'm cautiously optimistic that the great minds involved on these teams will be able to put something together that the city can get behind and move forward on with broad support. With that, I will turn this over to Donnie Oliveira, Deputy City Administrator for Community and Economic Development, to guide us through today's presentation. But before I do that, I also want to say this. I, along with many of you, read the editorial in the Oregonian this Sunday, saying that it is incumbent upon this council not to indefinitely dither over the question of the future of the Keller Auditorium. I agree. I do think it is worthwhile to take this brief period to see if there is some means of a combined solution, potentially at both ends of the Halprin sequence, potentially serving as a catalyst for upgrades and improvements to the sequence itself. But if it turns out that through all of our collective good work that that is not the case, that no such compromise is available, I want to be very clear that I will be bringing back a resolution to the council asking us to move forward on one specific proposal. So let's see where we are today, but I just want the public at large and for all of you in this room to know that time is short. I feel that urgency. Ultimately, we do have to make a deliberate decision, and we will, but I really think this opportunity to collaborate should not be missed in this process. With that, I'll turn it over to Donnie.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Council. For the record, Don Oliveira, I'm the Deputy City Administrator for the Community and Economic Development Service Area. I'm joined by my colleague, Sonia Szymanski, who will introduce herself and has talking points shortly. So Council, when I've had the pleasure of speaking before you about our city's future related to development or economic opportunities, we thoughtfully discuss trends and barriers. We'll daylight our data gaps. We'll refine our strategies. But too frequently, can we directly point to a specific moment that can systemically change our development engine's future? I'm confident that you are all quite aware of the importance of the existing Keller as a performing arts venue, a revenue generator for our broader arts ecosystem, and its role as an anchor in our downtown arts and cultural district. And you are all too aware that the ultimate decision of what we do next is yours. And we've been working towards a future Keller decision for some time now. Carl will walk through the details momentarily. But I'd like to offer you an additional consideration for today. Your ultimate decision isn't about a project selection. And while core to the conversation, your final decision isn't just about the future of performing arts in Portland. This decision has the potential to be a catalyst for our downtown in a way that creates genuine excitement for Portlanders, visitors, and economic revitalization. It can set a sense of place in our southern downtown area, and by leveraging existing features, we can truly do something transformational. And with that, I'd like to invite my colleague Sonia Szymanski to offer some more thoughts.
These are tough.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Sonia Szymanski, Deputy City Administrator for the Vibrant Community Service Area. Delighted to be here. Arts and culture are central, as you know, to Portland's brand and competitive advantage as a city. We have unique and exciting things going on across our neighborhoods and business districts, and as Donnie mentioned, and as you also know well, our downtown is an essential center of gravity for this sector. We have a roughly horseshoe shape, beginning at the Tom McCall Waterfront Park Bowl, passing by the Keller and the Halpern sequence, swinging around the south end of PSU and the vision that's before you in this process, coming back past the Art Museum and the park blocks, the activations and the galleries that stretch is known for, and anchored at the north end by the Pacific Northwest College of Art. And while we know that the nonprofit arts organization business model is challenging and that the twin crises of COVID and affordability have hit this sector harder than many, as you both have said, we have ample reason to be both optimistic and confident. Earnings, revenue, economic impact, and job creation are all up in the last few years. These are key indicators. And while climbing out of the pandemic, our nonprofit arts and culture organizations have generated about $500 million of economic impact, nearly 7,000 jobs in 2022. And maybe most importantly, we have an incredible group of committed, diverse, and sophisticated thought leaders in our community, many of whom are here today. The regional cultural plan you adopted in May identifies arts and culture as a tool to revitalize downtown, calls for a systemic solution to the sustainability of P5 facilities and users, and encourages strong partnership among philanthropic and funding partners. As we stand up the Office of Arts and Culture, which is in the Vibrant Community Service Area, these items are all on our list. Looking ahead, our next chapter also includes maturing our vision for the city as a leader in our creative economy, cultivating partnerships between arts organizations and between them and the city, and supporting or exploring catalytic development visions like this, like the Tom McCall Waterfront Bowl site, and like the new Rothko Pavilion taking shape at the Art Museum. And lastly, I have observed many times that while we sneaked into this big conversation through the relatively small side door of seismic retrofits a number of years ago, you have very wisely placed it in a bigger context And I really appreciate the action today, which also places it in a context of positive sum collaboration between the key partners. So thank you for that, and we are looking forward to this next phase.
Thank you, Sonia, excuse me. So today, Commissioners, in the resolution before you, we are asking council to provide the direction on the following. First, we're asking you to accept the engagement report. Carl Lyle and Christina Edmondson will walk through the results, noting the highlights of both InCommon's report, but also the thoughtful engagement many of us have had about the proposals and conversations throughout the last few months. Portlanders are truly passionate about our arts, and we would like you to accept that report in reflection of that. Second, we'd like you to direct staff to focus the next phase of this work on the west side of the Willamette River. We are grateful for the Lloyd Center's project team and their inspirational proposal, but we heard loud and clear that the future Keller needs to stay downtown, and we are asking for your direction to do so. And last but not least, we're requesting an additional 56 days to take a slightly different approach. During this time, our partners at the Halpern Landscape Conservancy and Portland State University have graciously committed to leaning into a collaborative space together with the city to explore a concept for placemaking around a future Keller together. We plan on kicking off this initiative next week, and it will be iterative. But to the mayor's point, we absolutely know we have to make a decision, and that in the resolution has directed us to come back on October 9th. And having spoken to both teams, their passion for a revitalized Portland, a thriving downtown, and especially a world-class performing arts venue cannot be understated. I selfishly want to harness that energy collectively and see what we might come up with. But two very important points. This decision is much bigger than just the city staff and the project teams, so we will continue to honor the feedback from our community engagement. In addition, and this is also very important, I want to stress that our partners at Broadway, the Opera, and Ballet are essential stakeholders, and we look forward to including them on this journey together as well. And despite this momentary process redirection, the project teams and city staff all share the mayor's and your commitment to urgency. So in alignment with that, we'll come back on October 9th, either with a new vision for council to undertake or to take action on the existing proposals. That's our commitment, October 9th. It's in the resolution. The project teams are here and will share their perspectives a little bit later after staff have walked through the report. And I look forward to sharing those thoughts with you as well afterwards as we develop this next step. And with that, I will invite Carl Lyle up to walk through the staff report. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just get a little bit organized here and see something. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Carl Lyle, Spectator Venues Program Manager in the Community and Economic Development Service area. So I'm going to try to share a few slides here. Just get this going. There we go. And okay, it looks like it's working. Okay, great. So I would like to first kind of briefly recap the Keller's important role in Portland's performing arts ecosystem and kind of review the process that brought us to this point. Then I'll turn it over to Christina Edmondson from InCommon Agency to talk about the key takeaways from the city's engagement efforts during the month of June and into early July. The Keller, as you know, plays a unique and important role in the region for a few key reasons. Keller is the only venue in the Portland region with the seating capacity and stage capabilities needed to host large-scale theatrical productions, such as Broadway shows and large format operas and ballet. The economic impact of Keller operations are significant. With annual attendance of approximately 400,000 and high Broadway renewal rates, the Keller supports significant economic activity, including jobs, taxes, and spending in the local economy, with a particular focus on supporting downtown businesses. The Keller also plays a unique role within the organization and business model of the Portland 5 Centers for the Arts, part of Metro. Portland 5 operates the buildings on the city's behalf. Driven by Broadway and commercial shows, the Keller generates some 50% of the Portland Five's total revenue. These revenues are critical to supporting the other 4 theaters, also owned by the city and operated by Portland Five, as well as making it possible for Portland Five to charge lower rental rates to resident companies and nonprofit groups. And we also know that the arts are a significant source of local pride in the community and that the events at the Keller are particularly visible arts activities. As important as the Keller is, most buildings do not last forever without periodic renovation and reinvestment. The Keller began its life as the Portland Municipal Auditorium in 1917. In its original format, it was essentially a large brick box with a nearly flat floor and a large wraparound balcony. When it was holistically remodeled in the late 1960s into the contemporary theater we have today, significant portions of the 1917 structure were left in place. Many brick walls and the original roof remain in place, for example. The result is a building that does not meet current seismic standards and is not anticipated to perform well in a major earthquake. While very important, structural integrity is only one of the Keller's current shortcomings. There has been little major investment in since the 1960s renovation, and the list of infrastructure needs and outdated amenities at the building is very long. Essentially, the building in its current form is nearing the end of its service life and will require either a full renovation or replacement in the coming years to continue serving the community in the capacity that it does. I wanted to touch briefly on how we arrived at this particular moment. This has been a multi-year process, as you recognize. It has essentially 2 origin points. The placement of the Keller on a city official list of unreinforced masonry buildings was one that triggered a series of seismic analysis led by the city. And separately, but in the same time period, a privately led design competition was launched to explore a transformational renovation of the exterior building in the initial focus, which then later evolved into a more holistic renovation approach championed by the Halpern Landscape Conservancy, which you're familiar with. The city's seismic study included a long list of other building needs, included that the building should either be fully renovated or, given the scale of the project, in consideration with the likely negative impacts of an extended construction closure without a suitable alternative location for events, that it would also be worth considering a replacement scenario. So over the past couple of years, the city has worked with community partners to develop a refined concept for the renovation alternative, which you saw presented at the end of May, as well as the 2 concepts for what might be accomplished with new construction on alternative sites, also presented in May. So those 3 concepts were all presented on May 29th. And then in June, the city made the proposals and the various related background documents and studies available to the public and launched an engagement, a targeted, short, but intense engagement period to try to collect feedback on the 3 options. Since that proposal on since May 29th and that presentation, the city engaged in the communications firm In Common Agency, which you'll hear about in a second, to host a series of listening sessions with key stakeholder groups, and also launched a public survey on the future of performing arts in Portland, which received over 3,000 responses. In addition, as you're well aware, there's been a lot of media coverage. And independently from the city's sponsored engagement activities led by In Common, there's been a large amount of individual community input, some generated by the efforts of the 2 proposing teams that you'll hear about later, and some just from a lot of interested individuals in the community. This input has been wide-ranging, with much of it urging renovation, much of it focused on the fears about abandoning downtown should something else happen with the existing site, but a lot of it also about supporting jobs and being aware of the economic activity and the associated impacts of a closure, so across the board. The key takeaway here for me is that the community is highly engaged in this discussion, following it very closely, and seems to care very deeply about the outcomes. It's honestly to a level I've kind of rarely seen in my time with the city, and it's a bit intense, but it's also, I think, a good reflection of just how important this decision is. And with that, I will ask Christina from In Common to present the takeaways from their engagement work.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, and thank you, Mayor Wheeler and commissioners, for having me today. As Carl said, my name is Christina Edvinson, and I'm with the Portland-based marketing firm In Common. In Common works at the nexus of public policy and communications, and we regularly work with government agencies and not-for-profit organizations. For this Keller project, I was also joined by Principal Leslie Carlson, who oversaw the creation of the report I'm here to talk to you today about. In Common was hired by the city's Spectator Venues program to engage the community in a conversation about the future of the Keller Auditorium. We mainly approached this work twofold, through targeted community listening sessions and a public feedback survey to better understand sentiments around the Keller Auditorium. I've been asked to tell you today a little more about what we learned from those listening sessions and the public survey. Go to the next slide. Throughout June 2024, In Common conducted 9 stakeholder listening sessions with close to 70 people who represented a wide variety of organizations who care deeply about the success of Portland's arts and culture community. We've listed out those groups on this slide, but as you will see, it was a cross-section of people who work and volunteer in the arts and culture section, who have a vested interest in arts and culture, or people who are involved in the economic and cultural success of Portland's Central City. The specific questions we asked of each group are listed verbatim in our report, which I have a copy of right here, and were designed to help us understand how people felt about the importance of arts and culture in Portland overall, what the benefits of arts are to our larger community, as well as understand the impact on our economy and our community of the 3 various proposals to either renovate or relocate the Keller. In these listening sessions, we did not ask participants to weigh the pros and cons of each site, but rather we tried to understand larger sentiments about building or renovating Portland's premier arts performance space. We also solicited ideas about design elements and amenities that people value, including how we can activate a new or updated performing arts center at any of the 3 sites from first thing in the morning until well after the curtain falls. Overall, these conversations revealed a really strong recognition of the need for a modern, world-class art venue in Portland and highlighted differing views on whether to renovate the existing Keller or build a new facility. I don't want it to be lost on this body that while views varied, participants were really excited at the possibility that this once-in-a-100-year opportunity to do something so large and consequential for our community provides. While perspectives were varied, we did glean a few takeaways from these conversations. First, many people told us they want city and arts and culture leaders to think big about our next performing arts center. This project should be a visionary one that is inclusive of Portland's diverse residents and communities and supports the entire arts ecosystem. As one participant said, I hope we make it stunning. Second, the opportunities we heard about this type of visionary facility include a multifunctional space that works for performances and organizations of different audience sizes, more community spaces, rehearsal spaces, space to hold events, and more restrooms and facilities that work for people with disabilities. The Performing Arts Center needs to support the entire arts ecosystem in our city. We also heard a lot about activation throughout the day, from early morning to late at night. People want a place that's not just open to the community during performances, but a place that brings our community together. Finally, many participants shared their thoughts about renovating the Keller and the significant logistical and financial challenges the renovation proposal poses. Stakeholders expressed concerns about prolonged economic closures, even on a rolling or short-term basis, deferred maintenance issues at the Keller, and the building's limited footprint and loading dock issues. A closure of the Keller during renovations could have far-reaching economic implications. The art sector, still recovering from the pandemic, fears losing performances, revenue, and workforce stability. Conversely, if planned strategically, a new or renovated venue could stimulate local businesses and enhance community vibrancy. While some participants were uncertain about the impacts of a closure, many others had unequivocal opinions that a prolonged Keller closure during construction could alter or diminish the city's arts organizations and culture for years to come. During these listening sessions, we also heard a lot about balancing the urgency of a new performing arts center with a really thoughtful process. People told us that whatever we do, they want a place that can house world-class performances, but also a place that will support arts in Portland for generations to come. If there is one thing that everyone we spoke with seemed to agree, it is that they want to continue to be engaged in this process moving forward. and there is a lot of excitement about what the future holds. Nobody has the right answers about when and how to make a performing arts center work in the city, but they want to be involved as we move forward. As the second part of our public engagement process, the city also distributed an online public feedback survey from June 9th through July 8th of this year. This survey was designed to better understand community and stakeholder experiences, values, and input on large-scale performing arts in Portland. The survey contained 12 questions and was widely distributed to community centers, the media, including Spanish-speaking media, performing arts spaces, neighborhood associations, newsletters, legislators, and more. In total, we received 3,000 responses to this survey, which of course is a small sample of the City of Portland's population. From there, the firm Eco Northwest analyzed the responses, basing them on a sample of 400 respondents. While you can see a better analysis of responses in our full response, or our full report, 4 major themes did emerge from the survey. 1, people value modern amenities, including accessible restrooms, seating, and concessions, state-of-the-art technology, access to parking, and general neighborhood amenities when they attend a performance. 2, people support an investment in a performing arts venue. In fact, 77% of respondents said they would support a new performing arts facility if the city and partners were to develop a funding solution that included a mix of private and public investments. 3, people want decision makers to prioritize ease of access to the facility, including ADA accessibility, transportation and parking, affordability, and feeling of safety. Another 27% of respondents want decision makers to prioritize the location of the facility, a majority of whom stressed prioritizing it in downtown Portland. Another theme that emerged from the survey was how a closure would impact the community. 43% of people surveyed said a renovation due to a closure of the Keller would impact them should we renovate. In closing, the future of the Keller is an important and perhaps historic decision for Portland and our state. We heard again and again from our public engagement process that people hope the next performing arts space in Portland metro area will continue to inspire, engage, and represent the community as a whole today and for future generations. Again, thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions about our public engagement process or our report or the public's feedback survey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. So before we ask you to consider the resolution, we've got a panel of invited testimony from the proposing teams we're suggesting we work with. And just as a reminder, the resolution today, as Donnie said, is to accept the public engagement report you just heard about, offer a sincere thank you to Lloyd Center for their contributions and efforts in the process so far, and then direct staff to further engage with Portland State University and Halpern Landscape Conservancy on this collaborative approach before returning to council on the 9th of October.
Great. Commissioner Ryan first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Christine. I wanted to make sure, Mayor, that we had a chance to ask some questions after we heard that report. That's the first time I've heard that report. My first question is, I recall when the draft was going out about these questions and there was a value section, we wanted to know what people's thoughts were about climate, and knowing that one would be a renovation of an existing space, the other would be new construction. And I don't know if I was able to track that when I'm looking at this report. Is it because the question wasn't asked, or?
Are you referring to the survey versus the questions we asked?
We had a chance, our council offices, to give some feedback on the questions. I wasn't pulled back in the loop as what went out. So I'm just checking in to see if the values section that we were looking at included people's concerns about climate and and I can tell by listening to your results.
Right. I don't believe they did, but I'm going to pass that over to Carl.
Yeah, I don't think so, Commissioner. I think the issue is sort of that core question that was discussed in some detail by the proposing teams back on May 29th, which was, is renovation a greener solution with less of a climate impact than a new build construction, right? I think that's what you're getting at. And I think we
Of
heard
course,
from,
that is what I'm getting
yeah.
at. Yeah.
And so we heard from the teams that there are, a number of different ways to approach that. It's a complicated issue. If you consider the lifespan of the building, it's a different answer versus the construction period of the building, different things like that. So it's a tech, I guess where I would come down on it is it's a pretty technical issue, and it's not one that we asked about in the broad public survey.
Okay. And this one's kind of technical too. I know when I worked at PSU, we always wanted people to know that PSU is downtown, even the very south part of downtown. I know people have asked me if they thought Southwest Lincoln was a part of downtown and it's central downtown. Was there any questions about these locations in terms of being in central downtown?
So, I mean, we did ask some location preference related, without specifically saying, we specifically did not want to ask people to pick their favorite project at this point. We were really trying to understand more what the considerations and values of the community were that should help the city, proceed towards the best decision, right? So that's what we were trying to do. So we didn't ask, pick PSU or pick Lloyd or, pick renovation. But we did ask locational preference questions. And, I think that's where we really felt like it was quite clear that the west side, the greater downtown, south downtown, were the areas that had the most kind of support generally. That's not to say that there weren't also advocates responding for Lloyd. And there were actually quite a few people who responded and wrote in, things about how in many ways Lloyd is a wonderful location with incredible transit access. And, most of the people in the city live on the east side, lots of different ideas about that. But at the end of the analysis of those questions around locational preference, it became clear that west side downtown was preferred, and then that we have that sort of list of amenities that went along with that, like things that are important to people: restaurants, proximity to parking, transit, various other things like that.
Okay, so was tracking that. So we just didn't choose to ask the questions in the value section about climate and green, and then we also we allowed the west side of all of the central area to be considered downtown based on what I'm listening to from you. We didn't try to do central downtown. We just didn't ask that question. And that's what I was trying to get at. Because I think that was another draft I put out, was trying to define central downtown to, I wanted to make sure, since Lloyd Center is considered part of central
City.
Portland, and we have a very large district called Central Portland, I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that we allowed that to be discussed in the survey. But you're telling me that wasn't a question and I could live with that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Well, so Commissioner, I apologize. We can follow up with you in some more detail on the detailed service results. There were a lot of open-ended writing questions that were provided. So there are a lot of opportunities in the survey and a lot of feedback in there, which we're happy to share, where people really did get into the details of, whether they preferred, the existing site over a Portland State site, or what their feelings were about those things. So there is some content there, I think, that we can provide. But, I think it's also important to remember that the two sites that we're going to be talking about today are, they're 6 blocks apart.
Oh,
yeah.
I agree. I'm just trying to get objective information and trying to interpret what I was just listening to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Rubio.
Yeah, that was part of my question that Dan had asked too. I remember very clearly asking about, it would have been helpful for me to understand what the community, where the community's value was around climate impacts. I think I've mentioned it multiple times in our meetings, and also in the last session that we had on this here. So I'm not looking at it more from a technical aspect. I'm looking at it from a community value, and if the cost is worth the trade-off, if it did reduce carbon. So I feel like there were some places that we could have really gotten some rich information that could have helped us make a better decision. So I'm a little disappointed in that we didn't get that question in there. I guess my second point or question would be then, are there other places, or is there another place for that we can get a little bit more of a sense of the pulse of where community is on that, or where that will be in discussion?
On the climate question specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what we can do is take another look at what we do have in terms of the more detailed responses and pull out, I think, any specific thoughts that we might have heard about the climate issue. I think that, and I apologize if this is not aligning with the council's desire, but I mean, I think from the staff's perspective, we heard pretty compelling arguments and discussion, pretty robust discussion in May that, it is a very complicated issue, and it isn't necessarily that renovation is always like a greener approach, right? So I think rather than trying to ask that, and I said this before, and I know this isn't isn't really what you want to hear, but rather than trying to ask sort of a public opinion about, how to interpret that technical argument about life cycle costs of the building in terms of climate or renovation versus new construction, even if new construction is extremely green, like we didn't think we were gonna get at this high public kind of level a lot of helpful input from that question. So, and perhaps that was an error and an omission. I apologize.
Okay, so yeah, I understand. I guess so in the future there be any opportunity to ask the public? And if it's no, that's okay. I just want to know it, and because I think it would be hard to gather or call information from the current survey if it wasn't asked at all. So, and if it's a no, it's okay. I'm just curious.
Commissioner, is the interest in having that information to better inform a decision by council, or is it so that we can ensure that that value is clearly communicated to the selected project?
I think it's both. I'm looking for it somewhere, I guess, Donnie, because I think it was something that I felt like was expressed by my office pretty clearly and consistently. And I feel like to not hear it at all in the presentation, I'm just looking for it, that someone's thinking about it somewhere.
Yeah, so Commissioner, and also maybe Commissioner Ryan, to add this to your question, the opportunity we have here is come October, once a project is selected, whether it's a new combined concept or one of the original two, once we sit down with the project team, we can start to outline what our expectations are for whether it's a green building standard, a living building standard, the opportunities for, a lot of different, either existing, frameworks or some new concepts. So, and I'll just share that the project teams have historically in this process shown a commitment to green features, et cetera. So to your point about can we survey the community about their feelings about it, I don't know that's going to fit into our timeline, but it's certainly something that we can commit to as a project team to ensure that the project that are selected are aligned.
Great, that works for me. Thanks, Donnie.
Commissioner Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think to end this, I just want to say what we're experiencing here is 2 offices asked for this, and it was clearly pulled out of the questioning. And so in real time right now, we're learning about that. So that's all. Thanks.
Right. Any other questions, Mayor, Council? So we have some invited guests, a testimony to join us. Mayor, I don't know if you would like to call them. I don't have it up on my sheet right now.
I've got them. So we have Karen Whitman, Executive Director of the Halpern Landscape, Scott Andrews, the Board Chair of the Halpern Landscape, and then after them we have Dr. Ann Cudd, the President, of course, of Portland State University. Thank you for being here again. And Sarah Schwartz from the PSU Foundation. Not only is she from the foundation, she's the President of the PSU Foundation.
And Mayor, just for a correction, it's actually Bob Nato's joining us, not Scott.
It is indeed. Hey, Bob, I know who you are. It's
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Pinch hitting is a good skill to have.
So should I lead off?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for the record, I'm Bob Nato. On behalf of the Halpern Landscape Conservancy, I'm the co-chair, and with me is Karen Whitman, who's the executive director. And so we'd like to express our support for the resolution before you. Before I start, I would like to take a moment to thank all of the commissioners and the mayor for coming to our celebration of the Halpern Landscape at the Halpern Fountain last month. We called it the Big Splash, but we really didn't intend for Commissioner Ryan to lead 4 of you into the water. And
He's
I
a
hope
troublemaker.
he certainly is, and I hope Commissioner Mapps's foot is better. I think before addressing the specific resolution, I think Karen would like to take a moment to talk a little bit about our our role in this process, because we don't own this building, you own it.
Yeah. Well, I've already been introduced, but I am the executive director, have been for, the first and only, have been for 10 years. And I wanted to explain to you that while our mission at the Halpern Landscape Conservancy is all about the Portland open space sequence, it wasn't, we didn't consider it a mission creep when 2 years ago we stepped forward to sponsor the Keller Auditorium Restoration Project, obviously because of our interest in the iconic Keller Fountain right across the street. And we know a lot about our next door neighbor, the Keller Auditorium, and we know a lot about the neighborhood, having participated over that 10 years in numerous enhancement projects for the sequence and for the overall neighborhood. Today, though, we bring the voice of generations of Portlanders who love the Keller Auditorium and they love the Keller Fountain, and you experienced that. And for the thousands of people who enjoy shows and concerts and just making memories in that wonderful space. Along with most Portlanders, we want to see the Keller fully renovated into a world-class venue, inside and out, for the benefit of our city, our region, and our state, and for our arts and culture economy, and for the revitalization of downtown. From the beginning, I think you know that we have been engaged with the activation strategy for downtown. Our 21st Century Keller expands and restores the auditorium. It develops a daytime and nighttime programmable plaza on 3rd Avenue. And importantly, for a new destination, it interconnects programming to expand and diversify audiences. I say that definition to you because it is the spirit with which we use this joining of the collaboration today. We are prepared to deliver you the plans for a world-class performing arts center and a South Downtown neighborhood on the rise that we expect to connect with another neighborhood with an important destination, and that's Pioneer Courthouse Square, an old pal of mine.
Thanks, Karen. I'd like to share a few thoughts on how to make the next 45 days and make this process successful. So please consider them in the constructive spirit in which they're intended. First, to put it directly, for this process to succeed, we need strong city leadership. Mr. Mayor, back in May when we were testifying on the 3 projects, you asked whether PSU and the Halpern Landscape Conservancy had met together to see if they could find a win-win solution for both of us. It's taken us a couple months to get here, but we're here now. But it's going to take the city's leadership to have this 45-day period to find a collaborative solution that combines our respective visions into a cohesive and mutually supportive one for performing arts and for the cultural vitality of the city. To do this, we need steady, engaged leadership from city staff. We need it from the mayor, and we need it from the commission. We will need a process that is structured, inclusive, open-minded, and fair. And we need a table that includes all the relevant parties that are involved with the Keller, not just us and PSU, but the users of that facility, the arts organizations, the union. Everybody needs to be at the table for this to work. And that's been the problem, I think, that you identified back in May, is we haven't. We've been operating independently and not talking. We may not always agree, but only the city can hold this process together and drive us toward a decision by October 9th. Second, We need to fully understand what's possible during a Keller renovation closure and problem solve this question together. We don't need to argue about whether it's $96 million of potential economic loss or $140 million. That number is irrelevant. The goal is to reduce that number as close as we can get together and make it to zero. No one wants performers, workers, and organizations in our local arts and culture economy irreparably harmed by a Keller renovation. Our team has been studying possible solutions to mitigate some of the closure impacts, and we look forward to sharing those during the next 45 days. But we aren't the only ones. In fact, we're probably the least competent ones to figure this out. We need to bring the people that actually will be impacted to a table and plan what we can all do to reduce those impacts. Third, we must discuss the costs and the funding sources for the project or projects the city ultimately chooses. What are the estimated costs to renovate versus build new facilities? What are the economic costs to demolish and/or repurpose the existing Keller Auditorium? And what are realistic sources of public and private funding to fund whatever project you proceed with on October 9th? Without more detailed analysis of not just the cost, but also the funding sources, we may be raising expectations more than building an achievable plan. Again, we've done some initial research on both public and private funding sources, and we're happy to share that over the next 45 days. But I'll say we need a decision one way or the other by October 9th. I think we'll come up with a good decision, but that is a target that I think it's short enough that we're not going to dither around and we're going to make some headway. Finally, we need the right terminology and expectations for this 45-day process. This shouldn't be about finding a win for Halpern or a win for Portland State University, or reaching some elusive compromise as if we're in a mediation or an arbitration. Rather, our goal should be to make the best decision for the city, for Portlanders, for our arts and culture economy, and for everyone across the region who comes downtown for shows, concerts, entertainment, memory-making special events, graduations. This is our commitment. We're pleased to support this resolution and eager to do our part to replace competition with collaboration. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Madam President, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler, commissioners. It's good to be back here with you. For the record, I'm Ann Cudd, president of Portland State University. As I stated back in May, I came to Portland because I know, and I think we all know, that Portland can do big things. And a thriving downtown Portland depends on thriving arts, culture, and education scene to attract more people to Central City, improving the overall vibrancy of the city, and spurring new development. That's why PSU first proposed the development of the Portland Performing Arts and Culture Center, a once-in-a-century opportunity to serve the city and our future students. We're excited to work collaboratively to imagine a new downtown and South Downtown, including an activation of both the PSU and the Keller site connected through the Halpern open space sequence. We applaud Portland City Council and the interim city administrator's office for actively seeking a win-win solution for downtown Portland and Oregon. PSU shares the vision for a re-energized arts, culture, and entertainment district that activates the iconic Halpern sequence of walkways, fountains, and parks in a new way. By collaborating on a long-term plan that activates both sites on each end of the Halpern sequence, we believe we can deliver the win-win that our city desperately needs. It's vital that this win-win solution prevents the economic, social, and cultural impacts of a closure of the Keller Auditorium and accounts for the community assets connected to downtown Portland. We look forward to collaborating with the Halpern Landscape Conservancy and the city over the next 45, or is it 56 days, on a solution grounded in these principles and ensure a path forward on our proposed Performing Arts and Culture Center and the future Keller Auditorium block. We're excited about this process because it expands the conversation beyond a decision about a single auditorium and sets a table for us to collaborate toward a vision for the future of our city. Portland State will always take a seat at the table for collaborative work that moves our region forward. I'm grateful to everyone at PSU who's continued to work on this initiative, with special appreciation to our project team. And I'd also like to thank our colleagues at the Halpern Landscape Conservancy for coming to the table with us in the spirit of finding a win-win for Portland. I look forward to continuing this work as a proven city partner to advance our vested interest in reclaiming downtown Portland as a world-class destination. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and commissioners. I'm Sarah Schwartz, president of the PSU Foundation. Thank you for inviting us back. Our team believes that your action today illustrates the critical importance of public, private, and academic partnerships to the future of our region and to the people who call Portland home. Over the last year, we have heard so much inventive thinking as we've spoken to hundreds of people during the process, including leaders in other American cities who have also looked to arts, culture, and education to bring extraordinary benefits and extraordinary investment opportunities to their communities. We remain committed to an approach that serves the broadest array of partners and Portlanders, the artists and organizations that use the space, the workers who keep the shows running, and diverse theater goers, including those, like me and my family, who regularly attend shows and support the performing arts in Portland. There continues to be genuine excitement about what's possible when we look beyond our individual interests and seek to serve the common good together. PSU commits to bringing that collaborative spirit with us to the table you are setting. We are also committing to a philanthropic approach in which the sum can be far greater than its parts. We are committing to refining a shared fundraising plan and process that can benefit not just the two projects we're talking about, but the entire Portland arts and culture ecosystem. Cities like Orlando, Nashville, and Tempe have created a playbook for this work. In their successes, we can clearly see a path forward for Portland. I would be remiss if I didn't say, however, that time is of the essence. We must have a defined project by the fall if we are to secure the philanthropic leverage we will need to successfully advocate for bond funding in the upcoming state legislative session. In addition, PSU brings to your table, our real-world experience as one of the city's most active and skilled developers. Over the last decade, Portland State has constructed or renovated 7 major downtown building projects, including 2 highly complex multi-partner buildings with a total value of $885 million. And PSU-run projects always place equity and access at their heart. We bring that passion to your table as well. In closing, I'd like to share a line I can't stop thinking about from the Tony Award-winning Hadestown, a production I saw at the Keller with my family in 2022. Let the world we dream about be the one we live in now. Together, we can make the Portland we dream about the one we live in, with performing arts at its heart. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Colleagues, any questions of our invited testimony before we get to public testimony? All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate your being here. How many folks do we have signed up, Rebecca?
We have 15 people signed up.
Great. 3 minutes each. Name for the record, please.
First up, Nicole Possert. Nicole was to be online and is not. Don't see her. Rosetta Venatucci. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
anywhere you'd like.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, City Commissioners, staff, colleagues, and all of the guests in the room. My name is Rosetta Venatusi. I am the business representative of IATSC Local 28. We have been here in Portland since 1895, before the Keller Auditorium opened. I have been a member with Local 28 since 1990. I started my career at Lincoln Hall Auditorium at PSU. I have worked in the Keller, and I also worked the opening event when we opened the last City Theater complex, the new theater building, which is now the Antoinette Hatfield Hall. Many of the workers that I represent work for multiple employers, and we earn our living as professionals. We earn a living wage with access to health care, retirement, and we are union represented, and that's how we get our living wage, our retirement, and our health care. We are passionate about what we do, and we work as partners with our employers, PSU, Metro P5, Portland Opera, Portland Theater Presents, Oregon Children's Theater, OBT, the Symphony, and more. I am thrilled to see the direction taken to review the needs of the Keller Auditorium, having everyone work on one team together. As our theme, Together We Rise, we believe that all of us working together will also help Portland rise. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for listening to everyone. Thank you for taking the time to look into all the concerns and see which ones are valid and which ones aren't. I ask you again to please do not rush this project and do not shut down the Keller Auditorium. The Keller is part of the ecosystem of not just Portland, but the live entertainment ecosystem of the entire state of Oregon. Without our Portland companies, we won't bring the arts across all of Oregon if our Portland companies no longer exist. Please look into a win for all. And as I have said to many people, it's not a surprise, I don't see why we can't put a really nice world-class 1,800-seat theater in the small side of the Keller and do the larger theater at PSU where we cannot impact traffic with buses and trucks and have safe places for us to unload those kids coming from school to see the theater and safe for us to unload those trucks. I look forward to meeting you over there in the corner. I think you're the only person I haven't met yet to work on this project, and I would love to keep continuing to work with all of you in the same room. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here.
Lejeune Thorson.
Welcome. Thank you. Glad you're here. Thank you.
Commissioners. My name is Lejeune Thorson. I'm on the board of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, and I'm speaking for their behalf today. The DNA knows that the success of Portland State as a thriving educational institution is necessary for the city's long-term viability. We also know that the 21st Century Keller is a necessary part of revitalizing the cultural district in downtown. We need a plan that has a predictable timeline, and we believe that is rejuvenating the Keller. We must get this decision made to show that Portland is hopeful and committed to a vibrant future. And as has been said, time is of the essence here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joel Thorson.
Welcome back, sir.
I'm Joel Thorson. I'm here testifying in my own behalf. I live midway between the Keller and PSU's proposed rebuilding site. I am a former PSU grad student and frequently attend shows and concerts at both the Keller and Lincoln Hall, so my loyalties are painfully divided. While I support compromise, there's simply no way to split the difference between staying and going. It's a binary choice. Further, my examination of this quandary leads me to conclude that the PSU rebuild elsewhere option is incapable of yielding a mutually beneficial outcome, as I will explain. A win-win situation must be found another way. I have a suggestion. It borrows from PSU's condominium model of shared initial investment funding in future revenues and expenses, and benefits not only the city and Portland State's mission, as well as the Halpern Conservancy's mission. That suggestion would be to fulfill at long last the promise of an all-season indoor-outdoor James Beard Memorial Market on the site currently earmarked for the Keller replacement. The city benefits from leveraging the outsized reputation of this iconic figure, a Portland native and by all accounts the founding father of America's modern farm-to-table culinary movement. Situated on the Max Line with several good bus connections, the market would draw everyday traffic from all over the city and food tourists from all over the world. No better activation magnet could possibly drive the reclamation of this underutilized district. And the district that benefits would include the PSU complex, including the 1,200-seat auditorium, the hotel, and the PSU educational facilities. The Beard Market, a city property, could occupy the entire first floor. Upper floors could be parceled out in condominium fashion, serving both Portland's affordable housing needs and the thousands of PSU underhoused or unhoused students, as well as anchoring the south end of the Halpern sequence. Why do I say that the rebuild from scratch option is incapable of yielding a win-win? The decisive factor for me is an avoidable stream of future recurring expenses, which is omitted from PSU's cost comparison estimates for the Keller rebuild, and for understandable reasons, there are too many unknowns still, principal of which is the city's decision. So there's kind of a catch-22 there. Regarding those recurring expenses, number one is the regular payments for shared common area upkeep expenses analogous to condo HOA dues. Two is the perpetual rental expense of leasing parking space in the underground garage. Neither of those are needed by the current Keller situation. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob Fulmer. Is Rob here?
Yeah, he's all the way in the back. There he is. Getting his exercise this afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Mayor Wheeler, it's been a while. Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak before you today. My name is Rob Fulmer. I'm the president of the chapter at Portland State of SEIU 503. And I just wanted to say a few words. I don't have any prepared remarks. It seems to me that like this is a super exciting opportunity to do something to revitalize the arts in Portland. And we're talking about a building or building complex, or maybe more than one. But ultimately, this is about people, right? I mean, this is about the people that are going to be served by this place, but it's about the people who are going to work there, who are going to spend their careers, like one of our previous speakers, serving at that place. And I wanted to just sort of lean into the importance of making sure that labor has a voice at the table. It's something that we heard today. I think it's going to be super important for this to be successful, and not just when it's all said and done and something's been built, but also as construction takes place, I think it's going to be critical for represented workers to be participating. You're going to be hearing from carpenters, I expect, and others. In order for this project, whatever it looks like, I'm not making any recommendations. I think that's what this collaboration is going to look at, is what's going to make sense. But whatever the result is, that labor's voice is going to be heard loud and clear, and that it's going to be a collaborative partnership with labor throughout this movement. So thank you so much for your opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here.
James Bernard Lee.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm James Bernard Lee. I live in Southeast Portland, and I speak only for myself. Thank you for hearing me today. I want to clarify a few terms. We've heard world-class performing arts center bandied around about here, but that's really a highly problematic thing because the Performing Arts Center, the primary one, which is Lincoln Center, is in New York City, opened in the 1960s, is widely regarded now to have been a failure. The Metropolitan Opera can't fill its house. There have been 4 tries to build a decent concert hall for the New York Philharmonic, but they want to get back to Carnegie Hall because of the acoustics in Carnegie Hall are so much better than anything that they can have today. The question that I have to repose the question is, can you build anything for symphony which is better than Boston Symphony Hall, which was opened in 1900? And that still stands as the standard by which everything is judged. The answer is nothing has been done like that. If you're talking about opera, can you build anything better than La Scala in Milan, which actually had been rebuilt in the year 1950 after it was terribly bombed during the war? And the answer again is no. Then the question is, why would you build anything else? No performing arts center has ever really succeeded. Neither Lincoln Center in New York nor the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which are the 2 great prototypes. Every decent performing arts facility is a standalone facility. You cannot build a performing arts center. There are a variety of reasons, technical, aesthetic, public relations. You can't do that. So what I have suggested and what I would like to do is offer my expertise in this field, which goes back 50 years with a number of people, and I have been trying to get a decent aspect of theoretical physics to explain why we can't do this. And I am sort of the, I guess I'm the clearinghouse for all this kind of stuff because I have this strange ability to do theoretical physics, so I don't know. But I would like to offer all these skills I have in the coming period to work with Mr. Lyle and to be sure that all this information is considered to be part of these very momentous decisions which we will now be making. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your being here.
Walter Weiler. Walter was to join online and does not appear to be there. Emily Ford.
Here comes Emily. Good afternoon, Emily. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. My name is Emily Ford, and I am the president of the Portland State University chapter of the American Association of University Professors. We are the labor union representing over 1,100 full-time faculty workers at PSU. I'm here in support of this resolution. It is a vision that supports PSU's motto, "Let knowledge serve the city." I am also here to center concerns for our organized labor in our city. It is union workers who serve the city with their knowledge, efforts, and dedication to PSU's students and to the Portland community. I'd like to offer, I will also add that I have concerns that this resolution lacks any committee charge to keep work on focus and does not mention the deep impacts of any final proposal will have on labor. A joint committee exploring PSU's development proposal must take into consideration the effects that this project has on workers that make PSU run, as well as the workers who would build and staff the auditorium. Labor concerns need to be central to the committee's discussions and integrated into its report and proposed developments unveiled in October. The committee must plan to retain and support PSU's SEIU-represented University Place hotel workers. It must protect actors, musicians, theater technicians, and others that make the current Keller facility run. It must take into account trade workers who will turn the vision into reality. And it must plan for each and every job in a new facility to be a union job with dignity and respect, from custodial work to performers and everyone in between. Over the past year, we, the 1,100 union-represented PSU faculty, have watched as the PSU administration and Board of Trustees have put their entire force of political advocacy, creative thinking, and full-throated support behind the development of a PSU performing arts facility. At the same time, PSU administration has been and is pushing back against layoff protections at the bargaining table with PSU AUP, while also stalling contract negotiations with its graduate employees union, and refusing to recognize grievances filed by the university's part-time faculty union. This proposed committee must hold PSU administration accountable to support workers with the same full-throated veracity that has gotten it this far in the development process. It's the workers who make this city vibrant. There's a broad cross-section of Portland labor here. We've heard from SEIU, IATSE, and we'll hear from the trades. Help PSU live up to its motto. PSU can only serve the city council, and the PSU administration must protect, uplift, and respect the workers who make our city the vibrant place that it is.
Thank you.
Janet Van Wes.
Hi, Janet.
Howdy.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to address you. My name is Janet Van Wes. I'm a theater educator, director, producer, proud union member, and a resident of the neighborhood that strides the Halpern sequence. As my time is brief, I would like to address the creativity and facility necessary to keep our union in front of house staff employed while the Keller is being renovated. Portland Center Stage and the Portland Opera were used as ART was being rebuilt. We have spaces available. We just need a coordinator to coordinate. There's a real opportunity to bring a different kind of show, musical, and event to Portland. The opera already uses PSU for some of their programs. OBT has several good choices for its programs. I know the Nutcracker is the big moneymaker, but what if this year's Nutcracker was promoted in a way so that when it returns, it's an even bigger celebration? Perhaps Mr. Jewell can speak to this. The New Mark Theater holds 880 people. The largest house on Broadway seats 1,096. Portland 5 should be open to tours of shows with less demanding technical needs, such as current Broadway hits, which will begin their tours next year. Oh Mary and Stereophonic, as well as its current capacity for rentals. The Expo Center can accommodate the new national tour of Come From Away, as Army and Air Force bases are welcoming them in their giant all-purpose rooms. Having studied theater management at the premier theater management graduate program in the country, and having spent many happy hours tooling around Lincoln Center in New York City, I can attest to the community and culture that surrounds the venue and that the 21st Century Keller is likely to mirror. That this committee is seeking compromise between PSU and the 21st Century Keller contingencies demonstrates that you believe both submissions have value to the city in terms of culture and employment. Compromise is often seen as an evasive term, and so I am curious and excited as to how two entirely separate locations with two entirely different purposes for creating a performing arts venue can be accomplished. The 21st Century Keller is viable, economic endeavor, sure to reflect the values the arts brings to a civilization. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Emily Horton.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Hi, my name is Emily Horton. I am a backstage worker at the Keller Auditorium, and I am also here as the Secretary Treasurer of IATSE Local 28.
The performing arts are by definition a collaborative effort, and we have before us an opportunity for mutual benefit to all involved parties. We know private entities such as AEG, Live Nation, and Monkey have shown us recently that Portland is ready and able to support multiple modern full-size theaters, and that there is no reason why we cannot move forward on multiple fronts. These plans can support and empower each other, with the Keller remaining open during the construction of a new theater facility at PSU, and said facility then becoming home to full-size operas, ballets, concerts, and touring Broadway productions to allow the renovation of the Keller at a safe and practical pace without the loss of jobs or detriment to local arts groups. Having attended meetings, reviewed proposals, and spoken with the interested parties, it has become clear that the consequences of a shutdown would be unfathomable, culturally and economically. It has also become clear that said economic consequences would be of such magnitude that while direct compensation would not be impossible, it would be dramatically more logical to use said funds for the construction of a second venue, and while a temporary option could be viable, investment in a permanent option would pay exponential dividends. As Stephen Sondheim once said, art in itself is an attempt to bring order out of chaos. We are all in this together, and we can have a new beacon of artistic production and education, a strengthened and preserved historical icon, and a revitalized downtown for us all. Portland can support more venues, and the city, its artists, and workers should be the ones to profit from them, not the corporations. The arts are for everyone, and the good of the city and its residents must be put first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Xavier Oberlander.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, pleasure to be here. Commissioners, thank you for allowing this testimony. I echo many of the words my AAUP and IOTC colleagues have spoken here. I have been a proud member of SEIU for as long as I've been here at PSU. I am a 30-plus year employee in the College of the Arts and the School of Art and Design, which will be groundbreaking for a new building. It'll be the Harold Schnitzer School of Art and Design. And it's absolutely exciting that the city is proposing this new building on the grounds of PSU. I'm excited about that. But I also I have to say something about the Keller Auditorium. I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of shows there, performances, and absolute gem in the Portland area. I know your decision will ultimately benefit the city. I do truly believe that. I like the idea of moving it closer to campus here. I think we have the space, but I also echo the same sentiments that my AAUP and IOTC colleagues have spoken here, and I think it's important that we bring in and work collaboratively with our unions, and I think that Portland can do this, and I appreciate the effort. And again, just very excited about the potential. Unfortunately, I probably won't be here to see the eventual finalization of the buildings, but being part of the process has been really meaningful to me, and I do appreciate all of the work and the hard work that everybody has done on this. So really, thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Diana Stewart.
Hi, Diana.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Diana Stewart. I live and work in the River Place neighborhood. I'm also a board member of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, but I'm speaking on behalf of myself today. I've been openly supportive of the Keller Reimagination Project because, one, it is a stunning, iconic design which will more quickly and urgently symbolize Portland's recovery. Two, it will provide a catalyst for downtown Portland and my neighborhood at River Place and support the existing businesses that surround the Keller. Three, it is ecologically and fiscally sound and will not create traffic nightmares. And four, attempting to find another use for the Keller will still require the cost of seismic readying and renovation greatly increasing the overall cost, especially given the significantly greater cost of the PSU project. I fully agree that arts organizations and related workers should be supported during renovation by staged closures of the Keller and moving productions to alternative locations. I also support this collaborative effort between PSU and the Keller project, which could be a win for all if the right balance is achieved. It makes sense that PSU burnish its reputation as a world-class educational institution with a second auditorium and educational and arts conference facilities. This is more in line with state legislative funding priorities. The Keller, with the greater certainty of being able to fund and begin construction in a more timely and cost-effective fashion, should be selected as the mainstay auditorium. This is also the case given that supportive services, including restaurants, hotels, and parking, already exist around that facility. This is the critical and necessary balance, especially given the uncertainty of timing and amounts of state funding to achieve PSU's vision, as well as all of the other reasons articulated here today. I urge PSU to scale its project collaboratively so that the overwhelming number of Portland residents who support the Keller renovation can become your advocates with your funding sources to enhance your educational mission in collaboration with the Keller. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Shane Jewell.
Hi, Shane.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Shane Jewell. I'm the Executive Director of Oregon Ballet Theater, one of the resident companies of the Keller Auditorium. Coincidentally, we are a couple weeks away from celebrating our 35th anniversary of performing in Portland. Over the past 35 years, we have welcomed over 2 million patrons through our doors. While it's important to celebrate where we have come, we are focused on where we are going. We are not focused on 35 years, but 70 years, 100 years. Oregon Ballet Theater is an institution to this city and will outlast any single person in this room. I say this to reiterate our commitment to the city, as well as to emphasize the need to be able to not only focus on the complexity of the issues in front of us, but also the understanding the decisions we make today will impact Portlanders who have yet to take their first breath. At OBT, we support this resolution. A desire for an immediate outcome should never trump a thoughtful and creative process to find the correct answer. The ballet is a civically minded organization committed to being solution-focused and improving our city. We hope the outcome will be a compromise that works for everyone, including the artists, employees, organizations, unions, and audiences most affected. I believe we can also be a resource from the city and all involved during this process. I've had the unique experience of having lived through both potential scenarios in other communities. I was in Oklahoma City working for a Broadway company during the remodel and temporary closure of the Civic Center Music Hall, and I was executive director of Orlando Ballet during the opening of Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts new venue. Through both of these transformative moments, I saw challenges overcome with creative solutions, and in neither case did an arts organization close. It's important for OBT that we are prepared for every eventuality. To that end, we have already begun talking internally about testing alternative venues as early as our 25-26 season and would welcome the opportunity to discuss how we could further work together to see what is feasible. In conclusion, what we seek is to be a thought partner and a resource. We respectfully ask to be included along with the other arts organizations and unions in this next phase of planning in order to inform the process and to be a good team player finding the best solution for our city. Given the short timeline for recommendation, we hope our participation will be soon because we can surely agree any final proposal should include the expertise and endorsement of the primary end users. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Tino Juarez.
Welcome. It's going all right.
Do I push play? Oh.
No, it should be on. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Tino, and I'm a local tradesman that works for the carpenters, and I think I like to speak on the behalf of the working class. We're here today to say that we're in support of this resolution and building. And not only does this have an opportunity to be a catalyst, as our sister said earlier, for downtown, but you know what? As we are talking about building and opportunities, I asked the city council let's make sure that we pick responsible contractors that really represent our community, Portland. By choosing a responsible contractor, not only do we thrive to build in Portland and to create growth, but we have this city council has the ability to create a ripple effect that not just appeases the outside of Portland, but to affect the heart of Portland, and that's the people that live and work there. Just to tell you my story, at 18 years old, I got hired I had the opportunity to get hired with a responsible contractor. And I want to tell you, man, I came from a family my mom raised 3 boys on her own, living on assistance. And let me tell you, man, because I was able to get a job that provided a living wage, let's be real here, a minimum wage ain't a living wage. But to work for a company that provided a livable wage with benefits. And I'm here to stand before you today to tell you that my kids are not on assistance. The curse has been broken. And we have the opportunity, man, by choosing responsible contractors to choose people that not only are going to build here, but live and work here. I want to encourage the city council to continue as they're building in our town to choose responsible contractors that reflect Portland directly. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tino.
Real quick, guys, for Instagram.
Xavier Stickler.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. Thank you so much for being here today and for helping lead our city forward. My name is Xavier D. Stickler, and I'm a student of architecture and urban planning at Portland State University, as well as a resident of downtown, a board member of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, and my lovely grandmother's theater companion to her Broadway Across America subscription. I think this effort to think collaboratively and together as a creative community is a very good start toward the type of city-level place creation that Portland needs, and that we once trailblazed nationally through our forward-thinking initiatives like our revival of urban rail. We can retake the mantle of urban leadership through thoughtful endeavors and partnerships, a commitment to equitable outcomes, and renewed investment in what makes this city great, our quirky character, and our open-minded yet utilitarian perspective. The task before the Halpern Landscape Conservancy, PSU, and the city staff is, candidly, a Herculean one, and on a time frame I think could fairly be described as compressed. There are several major challenges and geometric realities that must be deftly navigated. Furthermore, there are historic investments and cultural legacies that must be honored, if not further flourished and added to. For example, Lincoln Street, which serves as an extension of the Transit Mall, and the Harbor Way Viaduct is how the Max Orange Line, the Frequent Express 2 bus, frequent bus lines 9 and 17, and bus 19 get to and from the Telecom Crossing. It sees 8 trains and over 20 buses an hour, soon to be increased. Telecom and the Orange Line were a $1 billion investment that must be supported, respected, and well utilized by whatever new development is produced by this process, not harmed or hampered. That's tough in a built-up urban environment. On the other end of the sequence, you have the forecourt fountain, or now known as the Keller Fountain, an internationally acclaimed piece of landscape architecture that I know the 5 of you got to experience the magic of just a few weeks ago. Intended to be the forecourt of Portland's performing arts epicenter, it is a cornerstone of the city and its history, and must not be relegated to a footnote or a backyard of a private lot, but rather championed as the icon that it is. At Portland State, you have a majority-minority public school that is our state's flagship urban research university that deserves a world-class campus that is reflective of the diversity and creativity of its student body, that has also been hit hard by the housing crisis, enrollment decline from COVID, and the rising cost of education and college administration. It is a university where 1 in 5 of my classmates suffered from homelessness or housing insecurity in the last year alone. PSU is an institution, but also a deeply underutilized asset of downtown that should be better connected to the web of activation and arts and music and commerce that exist in the central city. These are just 3 of the variables of the many, many that the team will have to reconcile and champion in the next 56 days. But as you said, Mr. Mayor, between the creative talent, vision, and commitment to Portland that everyone in this process, in this effort possesses, I know we can rise to the challenge. Portland can rise to its challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
That concludes testimony.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That was fantastic public testimony, and it gives us all a lot to think about. Colleagues, does anybody have any other questions before we call the roll? Commissioner Gonzalez, yeah, you bet.
This, just for staff briefly, just to understand the inputs that we're being provided to as council at this point. So we have a community engagement survey, which was submitted as a part of the resolution. Do we have any formal staff analysis of the relative feasibilities of the financial stack, for example, of the 2 proposals?
Great question, Commissioner Donnie Oliveira, for the record. We're sort of, at this moment, taking a pause on the evaluation, both from the financial possibilities of the existing proposals to do this, have this conversation, because to answer your question might change after 45 days of conversations with the Halpern and PSU teams. What I will say is part of the urgency of this timeline that we're pressing is so that whichever project is selected can come to us with their financing model, so we can support it and get to work on implementing it. It's a little bit unfair for us to put the teams to pen to paper on their finance model before they've been selected.
So, you know, I mean, just putting on the table where we are at this point in time is not exactly what I expected when we last convened on this. I thought we would have some formal analysis of staff on the relative merits of the different options, and frankly, we're lacking that in any detailed way as a body. We have community engagement is a very, very important component of this, but I bring up only financial feasibility. I mean, it's just one of the many considerations here. But I guess I'm a little bit at a loss that we don't have further analysis that we can even hang our hat on the relative merits of the two options. And as I'm fast forwarding to what happens if we go through this process, what's the sequence of events if we get to the end of this process and we don't have a shared vision as contemplated by the resolution?
Then you would go back to making a decision between the Halpern or PSU proposals, and it's our current understanding that at that time we would have more clarity on their proposed financial development process.
And I want to be crystal clear. I brought up financial feasibility as only one input into a complex analysis, just given the multiplying effect this is going to have on the entire downtown, from financial performance to social effervescence. I mean, you know, there are a multitude of considerations here. So to be clear then, are you going to be on parallel paths analyzing the relative merits of the 2 proposals so that we actually have something other than community engagement to hang our hats on here?
Correct, Commissioner. There are several still unknowns that we have to solve for. So for example, you've heard very clearly today that closure of Keller during renovation would be very difficult to sustain. So what would be the economic impacts of that? So we still have to do that analysis. We have that, but just truly understand the alternative would be if the PSU project was selected, what would be the financial impacts to the city's next steps on Keller as an asset, right? So there's a lot of deeper analysis that has to happen. We're acknowledging that, but before we get to that point, we still wanted to have this conversation with the 2 groups together to see if there's some potential for a shared vision. And I want to just, for the record, clarify, it's not that we're going to try to piecemeal a new idea from the 2 proposals. I think that's not realistic. The idea is they're talented groups that have strong vision and passion for this work, but can they deliver together in partnership with the city and our arts and labor partners, of course. That aside, to answer your question, yes, when council hears on October 9th, if there's not an alternative vision, we will be able to provide some analysis to the best of our ability today on what each project is providing.
Would that include a formal recommendation?
We'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. So then the next question is, as we talk about the process that's going to be engaged through the next X number of days, through October 9th, what is the city's role in facilitating that conversation? And who's doing it?
So our team will be, the spectator venues team, Carl, myself, and Lauren will be participating in that from a perspective. Sonia Szymanski will be invited, of course, as well, representing vibrant communities. First meeting is the Halpern team with the PSU team. We're just going to set some parameters for the work ahead. It's going to be a really tight timeline. And then we'll very shortly after invite all the different parties that the group deem necessary, whether it be arts partners, labor partners. The table can't get too big, of course, because we have a short timeline. But this is going to be a very tight, I'd call it almost a sprint to October 9th.
Is there existing models for this level of planning in the city that we should be considering? I mean, master plans, or I mean, we're literally defining the urban landscape for the next 100 years on multiple pieces of property. I mean, it is. There's nothing small about this, and so I'm just, if we're going down this path, we're asking these two folks to sit at a table along with other key stakeholders, then is this an insufficient process for the magnitude of that path?
It is not ideal, Commissioner. We've run processes like this across the city at BPS. I led several of these sorts of endeavors, not on this tight of a timeline.
I mean, okay. I think I'm good for now.
Commissioner Ryan, did you have your hand up?
I did. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My question is, I think Sonia Szymanski can also help answer this, but I'm glad that you and Sonia are working together, the two DCAs of arts and culture, or vibrant communities. My question is, will Charity Montez, the arts office, will they be at the table for this process?
Hi, Commissioner. This is Sonia. Yes.
You just said yes to that? Okay, that made me very happy. Thanks.
Great. Does that complete questions? Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Well, one, I just want to, again, air our appreciation of Portland members for their engagement in this process and the beautiful visions that have been articulated really by all three locations. Obviously we're at a different place than we expected when we last convened. I thought we would have a more formal recommendation. Doesn't look like that's in the cards. I'm concerned, given the compressed timeline, that we may not have real formalized recommendations by October. I recognize you're going to make your best efforts, but that is concerning. And if we're truly going to go down this path, I think the city can't be a passive player in facilitating the dialogue. I think we need to help drive it. That still may not be sufficient, frankly, given the complexity of the project. But I will support this resolution at this point in time. I do think we have to hold ourselves all accountable that this does appear to be avoiding making a tough decision, avoid even giving this council a recommendation. I understand, I think, that it's not an easy one to give a recommendation in this context, but I just want to put on the record, I'm concerned that we opened a whole different can of worms that may require an entirely different type of process than the one we have engaged in to date. I love the idea of compromise, but we are defining the future of a substantial portion of our city, and just to echo our prior conversation, we have processes for that we're not necessarily engaging in here. And if we're going to think big, we should think big right. But with that, I will support this resolution for now.
Rubio.
I want to thank Donnie and Carl and the team of Spectator Venues and the Visitor Activities Program for bringing this forward. I want to also thank the Lloyd District team for coming to show us what their vision for Lloyd Center. It was really beautiful. And while we didn't go forward with it, it was nice to know it was possible there. Going forward, I do want to emphasize my enthusiasm for the collaboration here. And as Bob mentioned earlier in his presentation, the end result should be a win for Portland. And I want to make sure that we take a moment to acknowledge the magnitude of what this could bring to Portland, and also to our venue workers, our neighbors, Portlanders, and all visitors that come here for entertainment. I do have to say I'm disappointed that we aren't able to hear from the community, or that it wasn't even mentioned in the project about climate and environmental impacts after extensive discussion about it, and especially in this next phase. It was one of my 3 concerns that I clearly outlined: climate impacts, financial impacts, and worker impacts. And the only one asked that I had to include in the survey. So for that, for me, that was a miss. And I'll be really looking for more information here in October. I'll also be looking forward to learning about the proposed funding sources and the financial feasibility for this joint venture. And specifically, what will we be asking of each jurisdictional public sector partner? What will we be asking from the private sector? And then funding bodies like the Visitor Development Fund Board or any other. Are there any other external partners that we haven't that have yet to be identified? And finally, I'll be wanting to see how there's meaningful partnership and engagement with labor partners to mitigate work impacts on the workers, and also to ensure good, equitable workforce opportunities. So I just want to be really clear that is what I will be using to assess and to inform my vote in November. But the bottom line for me is that it's a very, very exciting moment in Portland, the culmination of this work, how we're reinvesting and revitalizing the next entertainment district that benefits all of us, and it will shape the cultural experience of all of us for the next generation. And to the 2 proposers, I just want to say a big, big thank you for your passion and for the arts and for this project. And I really just want to lift up the leadership that you've undertaken to collaborate and partner on this, so that we have an even better outcome and a vision that's yet to be imagined. So I can't wait to see what this joint vision evolves to become. I'm very hopeful, and I look forward to October. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yeah, first of all, thank you all for being here today. The engagement and testimony was compelling. It was also very stimulating. I want to start by saying to labor, you are front and center in this plan, no matter what. You were the first to go home in 2020 and the last to return. We must keep you busy with no interruptions. The show must go on. To the arts residents, I hear you, and you are top of mind as we move forward. Please see the hope over the fear as we move forward. And I must add, if I'm on this council, we will work with Metro to improve the tipping point of doom, the current P5 contracts. They have become untenable for all of our local arts groups. So for our residents, I see you, your shows must go on, and I thank you in advance for thinking out of the box. To Halprin Landscape Conservancy, for your 7+ years of work you have dedicated to this project. Thank you for your devotion to Portland during our most challenging chapter. Your patience is definitely one of your virtues. To PSU, my former employer, when I moved back home in 1996, being on the development team through 2005, thank you for showing up and being ready to be a player. Thank you in advance for being collaborative and creative as you show up at the table with your Halprin friends. And friends you all are. I know many of you, and I've been people in both camps, and You're united and mutual helpers for the city, friends who have a vast experience working with government to move our city forward. I apologize for all of us that this has been less than smooth, direct, and collaborative. As the mayor knows, I have wanted this action months ago, and so I'm glad we're here today. I also apologize that the city created an internal team that has been biased, and I'm grateful that the conversations Mr. Rubio and I have had with DCA's Oliveira and DCA Shemansky has allowed us to work together to move along an objective, results, and data-driven process that we can make the best decision for the stakeholders previously mentioned and for the people of Portland. It is well past time that we regain objectivity and focus on the primary common goal, that downtown Portland must have a state-of-the-art performance hall. In addition, the people who live, work, and visit downtown deserve an urban landscape that includes the restoration of the historic and world-renowned Halpern Fountain sequence. And of course, our city deserves a high-performing higher education institution that is robust and full of activity. We all miss the Monday through Friday impact of PSU on South Downtown. Your free dirt at the tip of downtown is an opportunity. The unforced error of blindly moving forward as two separate projects is over. We have wasted enough time. Today, we can move with a shared goal of building a state-of-the-art performance hall with an upgraded Halpern Fountain sequence in our downtown. Yes, we have tough decisions ahead of us, but now we have two groups that are focused on the same common goal. Advice to those at the table: enjoy the tension in your conversations. That is a sign of a productive meeting. Let the collective room be smarter than any one idea or any one of you, and I expect we can come together with civic pride and move forward. We must paddle in the same direction. We have a couple more facts in addition to protecting labor and lifting our arts residents. Keller's on our general ledger, the city of Portland's general ledger. We are responsible for it to be active in a prime location. And PSU is at the table with a vision, with free dirt. So how can we capitalize on that? Portland, this is an opportunity, not a problem. We cannot kick this down the road any longer. I will track closely with the DCAs and ensure that we vote in early October. We have right-sized the internal bias. We have capable public servants leading this work, and I will not support any further delays. Please look beyond the construction deadlines and of the next few years and think this out for the next 50. I look forward to making a decision based on your best objective and strategic thinking in 56 days. That is our job as leaders. Let's go.
Wheeler.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who is here today. Lots of different perspectives, lots of different ideas, but maybe more than anything I heard, more than anything else, experience. And there is somebody in this room who has direct, personal, extensive experience resolving each and every one of the different challenges that was raised. And I, for one, am energized by this process. Nothing motivates me more than a deadline and a task where the community will ultimately have to compromise. You will not get everything you want. There's nobody in this room who is going to walk away from this project having gotten everything they wanted, myself included, my colleagues included, our city employees, and everybody is here. The question before us really is, can we find a compromise that works, that achieves the vast majority of the goals that we've set for ourselves? And I'm highly confident that we can, and I'm eager to prove it. I also want to thank Tom Kilbane, Krista Bailey, and the entire Lloyd Center team for their proposal. I actually thought it was an amazing, innovative, creative proposal. And even as they said during their presentation, they did it on an extremely short timeline. And while we have consolidated our thinking to the downtown core, I also want to acknowledge that the work that's going on at Lloyd is really important to the future of the city. And I and my colleagues will continue to strongly support their efforts as they seek to bring more activity and more dollars in development to the Lloyd District. And I hope they're hearing this and they're hearing that commitment from me, and maybe more importantly from my colleagues who will be here a lot longer than I am. I agree with the challenge that was put on the table. And I'm sorry, I don't remember which of my commissioners, but one of the commissioners mentioned that we cannot be passive in this process. This isn't a process that just unfolds. If we want it badly enough, then we have to all be engaged in this process. I will commit to being personally engaged to the degree that you can stand being in the room with me. I would like to see this project through. I would like us to have a clear, decisive decision about where we are headed with this project by the time I walk out the door at midnight on 12/31. And I sense there's a lot of interest here in this room. But I will close with where I opened, which is this will necessarily be a process with compromise, even if we end up just choosing one project or the other. Because think about it for a moment. There are some significant obstacles to any of these projects being successful, not the least of which is how do you pay for it? And we also know that each of the locations, PSU and the current Keller location, come with significant challenges. And we're going to have to really innovate the heck out of those challenges to figure out how to overcome them. But I would like us to do that. Last but not least, I want to end on a note of gratitude to my city employees who were directed by us to do this work. Thank you. I think we're starting to learn that the new executive branch is going to be under a lot of pressure, that the work may be thankless, but you will continue to provide excellent work for all of us. And I think our commitment to you is we will also be self-actualized. We will seek you out, and we will work with you on issues that we think are important to us, rather than waiting for a presentation and then saying we're disappointed because it didn't include something that we never told you we wanted in the presentation in the first place. This presentation, to be clear, was narrow. And it was focused on a narrow question which we raised, which is, can these two proposals be merged? That's the question before us today. And the council is unanimously saying we're interested in hearing that question answered. We only have, as Commissioner Ryan said, several dozen days to answer that question, but I remain confident we can answer it in the affirmative. But as I said at the beginning, if it turns out we cannot, we will move forward with one proposal or the other, because that's our job. And frankly, I don't know if you can make a recommendation to us. I think what you're going to do is provide us pros and cons from each of those proposals, and it's going to be up to us to make that tough decision about which ones do we think we can overcome, on what timeline, with what resources, and how do we work with our partners in a collaborative way that the community feels that they are brought along, that they are heard, and that what we choose at the end of the day is something they can be proud of for generations to come. So with that, I will vote aye. The resolution is adopted and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.